Just give me a heads up when. Y'all ready?
Yes,
Okay.
thank you.
Yep. Look, good afternoon. My office works every day to do what we can to protect witnesses and victims, and we remain committed to doing everything in our control to protect them from being further victimized by cyber criminals. That's why my office has engaged Choices and Legal Aid to make sure our community partners are united in ensuring victim safety, why we stood with the mayor to announce credit monitoring for those whose data may possibly have been compromised, and why we continue to cooperate with the ongoing criminal investigations surrounding this data breach. It's also why my office filed a complaint today asking the court to grant a temporary restraining order to stop the continued and threatened dissemination and disclosure of confidential personnel and victim data by an individual who obtained the city's stolen information from the dark web, information that compromises criminal investigations and threatens public safety. This is not about freedom of speech or whistleblowing. This is about the downloading and disclosure of stolen criminal investigatory records. This effect is to get him to stop downloading and disclosing stolen criminal records to protect public safety. I said from day one that my priority as a city attorney and my duty under the charter of this city is to protect public safety. And I took this action to help victims, witnesses, and our police who are out there every day to save lives. Be happy to take questions.
From all of our research and all of the lawyers we've spoken with, they've said this case is very thin. Connor has broken no laws. In fact, he's trying to help the people in Columbus. Why are you trying to silence someone who is trying to help the people who are supposed to serve? And is it to stop the embarrassment of the city for how they've handled this?
Well, it's my understanding, based on some of your reporting, Isabella, that he's been engaged with you and some other stations for the past 2 or 3 weeks at this point, and this is the first time we've taken action, because this is an escalation of the downloading and dissemination and disclosure of stolen criminal data. And so it is gone to the next level to where there is potential suspects, undercover officers whose data is out there. And it takes a level of sophistication to get to this information on the dark web. No one is going out there and simply just Googling dark web to find this. And so the fact that it's the download and disclosure, not the speech, not the fact that the city was hacked, not the fact that the city criticizing the city's handling of the cybersecurity investigation. It is not the speech. It is the actual data itself that he is seeking and downloading and disseminating and disclosing to members of the media, and frankly, to who else? I mean, I know you probably don't tail him 24 hours a day, but who else is he disclosing that information to? Friends, family? Like, this is personal, confidential information. This is investigatory records. And in order to protect victims, in order to protect witnesses, in order to protect our fine men and women of the Division of Police, we filed this TRO.
What about other criminals who could be accessing this data, since it is available on the dark web? Anyone can download that browser and look at this information. What about those people?
Well, I would say that if there are individuals that are out there that are also downloading and disseminating confidential records that are law enforcement in nature, that I would like to know about that, and they should stop too.
So without Connor Goodwolf's intervention.
I'll take everyone's questions. So, yeah.
Without Connor Goodwolf's intervention, we would still be back where Mayor Ginther told us. That was unusable.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to ask, should he just have not done this in the first place? Like, why or why not? Without that, we would still be at that first point. That this data is unusable. We wouldn't have known all this was out there.
Well, as Mayor Ginther said, he said that in good faith. And to me, if there is information that needs to be brought forward, that there's a way to disclose that information to law enforcement and not going directly to the media. And this is why we had to file the TRO, is because we now escalated to a level of where there is information on the dark web. The city has acknowledged that there was a sophisticated intrusion into our system where data was taken, and that data is out there, which is, again, why we offer Experian to anyone who's even touched the city of Columbus, and give this an opportunity to those that are out there that if you had any interaction with the city to take advantage of the Experian protection. But this is a whole other level of escalation, because it does involve witnesses. It does involve police, potentially undercover police. It involves suspects. It involves victims of cases that currently could be pending. And that's a threat to public safety. So again, if any individual wants to criticize me or criticize the city, they have a free speech right to do that. It is the downloading and disclosing and the dissemination to you as members of the media, but also to God knows who else, that really jeopardizes the identity of these individuals and an ongoing criminal case. So I wouldn't want to see that information. If I were offered that information, I wouldn't want to see it as a general member of the public, because I know that could be a criminal investigation where there's a victim out there, a real victim of crime, who is, their case may be pending, or a CI, a confidential informant, or an undercover cop who's out there putting his life on the line in order to build these cases. And we're parading around that information and disclosing it to members of the media and to other people that we just simply don't know, that truly threatens public safety. So I want to reiterate, this is not about speech. It's not. It's about the actual action of going on the keyboard, going into the dark web, gathering the information, downloading it to your computer, and then disseminating to people that are in the press and otherwise. And I have a duty as a city attorney to protect our police, to protect our victims, to protect our witnesses, and I'm not going to hesitate or stop to ever do that.
I believe
So
all
the
of us here
city-
have interviewed Connor, and he's not shy about it. He's very critical of the city. We're not disputing that.
Mhm.
We're wondering, like, is the city filing this restraining order now to prevent more egg from getting on its face, more embarrassment?
Yeah, I mean, I go back to the fact that this is 2.5 weeks into Connor, being out there. So if this is really about some sort of embarrassment, we wouldn't have filed it 2.5 weeks ago. This is about the escalation of the type of data that threatens current criminal investigations. And I'm not gonna let our officers down. I'm not gonna let our victims down. I'm not gonna let our witnesses down who are out there. And some witnesses in tough cases, they put their ass on the line to go to court. They have the right to their identity to be protected. And so download that information and parade it around, that is a threat to public safety. To me, one second, George. To me, that is not a First Amendment exercise.
Why file this civilly instead of in criminal court? The mayor made a statement last night alleging that if stuff like this continues, criminal action could be taken by the city.
Yeah,
Why file this civilly?
I know you guys are used to this, but this is a broad criminal investigation that's been going on for 3 weeks into the city's data breach. And it's like, that's an ongoing criminal investigation that started back when the breach happened in July.
The city never acknowledged the extent of this attack until this complaint. Did you guys find that out through your investigation from Connor? And if you found it out on your own, why hide it for this long?
No, it's not it's not hiding. As a matter of fact, when you read the TRO, like the TRO itself alleges some of the comments that he's made to media. This is in a lot, again, I don't want to get into the investigation, but a lot of this is a race to the data that's on the dark web. Like, we have a team of people that are going investigating it. Connor obviously has made very known that he is trying to pull down the data himself as well. And again, it's accessing that data, it's downloading that data, disseminating that data to you and to God knows who else. And that is a threat to public safety.
Off
Yeah,
of
as well.
that, I have screenshots that Connor reached out to the city as frequently as 10 days ago. He tried to come to you first with this information. We actually connected him with the outside law firm investigating this. Why did no one try and work with him? And why has it come to this instead of working with him, the information he has?
Well, first and foremost, I have 175 people work with me, and no one has ever came to me directly or indirectly that said Connor Goodwolf wanted to talk to me, period, full stop. Secondly, I know my outside counsel has talked to Connor Goodwolf. Those conversations did occur. Those communications broke down, and I'll leave it at that because it's part of the pending investigation.
Mr. City Attorney, can you say whether or not you've learned anything from him about what was stolen, or did you know everything that he has disclosed? Have you learned from him about the extent of the breach?
Well, I think through this exercise, when you learning about the Onion server on the dark web, it's not something that's easily accessible. It takes a level of sophistication. Even attempting to download some of this stuff takes hours, if not days, to download. So in a lot of ways, our team is seeking to download the information. Obviously, there's a way that Connor has a level of sophistication that he's been able to get it. And we're all trying to get to the same information. And that doesn't mean that there aren't questions being raised of like how accessible this information is. And so like, there is nothing that I have not disclosed to the press that I could not disclose because of some sort of protection because of the investigation.
I guess what I was getting at
Yeah.
is, has he helped you guys in understanding what the extent of the breach was, or did you already have that complete understanding yourself?
Unfortunately, like where we are in the investigatory process and where we are in the downloads, I think if I got beyond what that is, it may jeopardize something. And I apologize that I can't answer the question directly, but it is an ongoing criminal investigation.
What
So how
else
are you
is the
gonna
city?
know if he's no longer downloading stuff off the dark web? How are you gonna know he's following this order if it's approved?
So, what do you mean?
Well,
Yeah.
he can still go in his home and download stuff and release it to other places. How are you gonna know he's following this?
I mean, that's a question of like any time a TRO happens, granted, whether it's this case or not, that it is a court order. We expect people to follow the law.
And if he doesn't?
Then there are ramifications with the court, and we deal with this all the time in nuisance abatement world, as you know. If you violate a contempt or court order, then you're in contempt of court. That's something different than what we're seeing. That's a problem you have with the judge because you're not following the judge's order. Isabel, I'll go back down the aisle here.
When I went to Chief Ryan yesterday, she said she found out this information when I told her. If we hadn't done this, if Connor hadn't uncovered this, how long would it have been for undercover officers, informants, and thousands of victims to find out their information wasn't dangerous?
Well, the city has recognized that has been a sophisticated intrusion into our data system. We have acknowledged that information has been exposed, which is why we have said anyone who has touched the city in any way, you should download the Experian. We're all after the same data. How that is downloaded on a server that's based overseas, because these are threat actors. These are Russians, Chinese, Iranian, North Koreans. Like these are the threat actors that are threatening the cybersecurity infrastructure of governments and of companies around the world. But when it does happen, we're all seeking the same download to discover exactly what an exposure is.
Connor
Has
yesterday-
the TRO been officially pushed through?
It's pending before a judge. We have not had the hearing yet.
You're not alleging you did anything illegal with the information, are you?
Look, I'm just looking for him to stop downloading and disclosing confidential information about officers' names who are undercover, about witnesses, and about victims. That is the purpose of this TRO.
But has he done anything illegal by talking to the press about, and he hasn't tried to steal anyone's identity or anything like that?
Well, that's never been alleged that he tried to steal anyone's identity. Like I said, the purpose of this is not about suppressing speech, Bill. The purpose of this is to get him to stop downloading and disseminating and disclosing victims' names, witnesses' names, undercover police officers, all of which threaten public safety.
Connor alleged to me yesterday this database that included undercover cops information, child rape victims information that wasn't even encrypted, and it was something owned by your office. Does that worry you? I'm not sure if that was a decision you made before your time or during your
Yeah.
time.
Well,
Does
Matrix,
that
yeah.
allegation worry you about the cybersecurity of these databases that have this sensitive information?
Yeah, look, all of that is being done through the investigatory process. Matrix was established before I became city attorney.
What else is the city doing to protect victims, to protect undercover police officers, besides offering Experian free credit monitoring that you can pay for yourself for $25 a month?
Yeah, so that's why immediately when I heard a couple weeks ago about the victims, I called my friends at Choices, I called my friends at Legal Aid, I let my chief prosecutor know, and then at that Saturday press conference, like making sure that they are aware of the potential exposure to victims' names that are out there and DV cases, some of which may be pending, and if they're pending, that means it's not a public record. Some of the cases are old, and if you search those cases, they may be public, and they are a public record. But the perception of which I want victims to feel safe. And that's why I reached out to Choices, why I reached out to Legal Aid, because some civil protection orders through the Common Police Court on the civil side may need to be renewed. And that's why I wanted to make sure Legal Aid was aware of this and know that my office is ready to partner with them in every step of the way.
Well, I spoke to a victim's mother and she told me she hadn't heard from your office. And when I called her and told her she had no idea that her son's information could be on there, what would you say to her?
Well, look, if she feels like she's in danger, there's obviously the avenue to go to Choices, there's Legal Aid, or contact my office. I mean, unfortunately, we do 5,000 to 6,000 DV cases a year. So if you're backing up 10 years, that's 50,000 to 60,000 DV cases. And so if you feel that you need protection or a civil protection order or help, we want to help you. Legal Aid wants to help you, and Choices wants to help you.
Is it illegal to download information from the dark web? I spoke to a man who worked for the FBI for 25 years. He told me that it's only illegal if you use that information in a bad way. Is it illegal to download information from the dark web?
Well, like I said, this has all been investigatory process that started with the initial breach back in July, and I'm not going to get into the details. Obviously, we as a country have drawn lines of where there are things in the dark web that you cannot download: child pornography, murder for hire, the sale of drugs. Like, all of that is on the down web. There's prohibitions about that. And I'll just leave it at that and say that this is an ongoing criminal investigation involving Reseda and other actors.
He mentioned that he wants to put together a website for people to go on the web and check if their data's there. What's the city's reaction, your stance on him doing this with city obviously owned property?
Look, I'm not going to comment on that because I don't know exactly what his intentions are. I've seen that mentioned a couple times, and I don't want to speculate on what his motives are.
Your database was part of the discovery on August 13th that included witnesses and victims. Why didn't you file that?
Well, look, this is a whole other escalation of law enforcement personnel, of potentially pending cases that involve suspects and witnesses, and that's why I think it is the escalation of this conduct and what led us to this. And I think it actually undermines this idea that somehow it's a whistleblower or we're out to get him, because he's been in this sphere locally for a matter of weeks, and it's just now at this escalation of why we're taking
And I
charge.
did want to follow up on a different question. So Connor has had multiple minute conversations with Mary Caswell, Soraya Launders, Chief Prosecutor Joseph Gibson, and Melanie Tobias in their office, and has screenshots to prove it.
And when was that?
That was on the 13th.
This is the first I've heard of that. I'll have to check on that.
So let's pretend for a minute that your TRO goes through, and Connor is forbidden to talk or show us whatever.
Well, he's not forbidden to talk.
Okay.
I want to be very clear on that. He's not forbidden to talk. This is not about speech. He's forbidden from, if the TRO is approved, of course, he would be forbidden from downloading and disseminating stolen city information. That includes victims' names, names of undercover officers, potential confidential informants, suspects. It's not about speech, and I want to be very clear about this. It's about the action. It's about actions. It's about the action of downloading, disclosing, and disseminating information.
Okay, so
Yes.
then all that goes through.
Yes, sir.
Ginther was wrong. It doesn't matter if it was in good faith. The fact is he was wrong. Are we supposed to go back and trust Ginther whenever he says there's a new update, or because the trust is already gone because
Mhm.
he was incorrect. So what happens if this goes through? Are we supposed to run around Ginther again, and he may or may not be wrong again? How is that going to work?
Look, this is an ever fluid investigation that started with the first intrusion back in late July. I can tell you that all statements are made in good faith. I can understand the perspective you're coming from, but we're all doing our best to protect public safety.
You have taken a step back from representing the city in other cases involving this attack. Why are you able to represent them in this one?
We're actually in conversations with a law firm about getting outside counsel, but until that actually gets approved, there has to be a role for the city's chief legal officer. I said this at the Saturday press conference. We contacted the kind of policing unit that polices lawyers, the Office of Professional Responsibility, to make sure that we are crossing our T's and dotting our I's because of the conflict. Because at the end of the day, I am a city employee too. I have touched the city, and so potentially my name could be out there in the information that was stolen.
So
Can you
what's being
explain
done
it?
to help the undercover officers whose information's all out there, so they don't become victimized, because now they're just sitting in limbo, waiting possibly something could happen to their
You know, again, I've talked to Chief Bryant and we are on a unified front that we are concerned about this. She's supportive of the TRO, which is why she signed an affidavit. I've even reached out to Brian Steele at the FOP to express my concern about this information and let him know how I can help him and his members. This is a number one priority. Like, these men and women are out there every day protecting us. And foreign cyber criminals came in and stole their information. And now, unfortunately, someone's downloading and showing people that information, hence the TRO. And so if I will do everything I can to protect our officers and to protect victims and protect witnesses, and I'm not going to stop because that is my job as city attorney, and that is my number one priority. They're out there putting their lives on the line. I'm going to do everything I can to protect them.
City attorney, so there's lawsuits against the city, police and fire. I assume they may have hired forensic experts to do exactly what Connor is doing. Are they breaking the law, or is he the only person in the world who is prohibited from downloading this information?
Look, all of that will come out in litigation. I don't want to get into a question and a back and forth of whether with people that are in current litigation against us, and like that they will proceed in their litigation process.
And he told me today, he's conducting a forensic examination. He says the city tried to hire him, the city's cyber consultant tried to hire him, and it didn't work out. But he claims he's just doing a forensic examination, just like any law firm could do that's involved in one of these lawsuits. Is
I think that it's the downloading and dissemination of the information to individuals.
To who? If a law firm's downloading it for the city lawsuit, are they allowed to talk to the lawyers about it?
That's a litigation question. I will say, going back to the fact that that he reached out to a member of the Dinsmore team, I'm not going to comment on that because it is part of the criminal investigation, but I'm not sure it's an accurate portrayal of what happened.
The TRO does mention several alleged criminal charges that he violated. Does this mean, is there a criminal investigation underway or about to happen?
Oh, Steve, you know this thing's been under criminal investigation since the middle of July.
Related to him?
Yeah, this thing's been under criminal investigation since the middle of July.
Related to him?
I can't, this whole thing has been under criminal investigation, and to go in and piecemeal it's this whole, you know that, the whole thing, and we've all been very clear about that.
The mayor reactively offered credit monitoring after what Connor found. If Connor hadn't uncovered this, would the citizens and the residents still be left asking questions and not have any sort of protection in place?
Yeah, I can't answer that hypothetical, like we operate on the knowledge that we have at the time. I applaud the mayor for taking that proactive step and broadening the scope. Because, you know, we are the elected leadership, we're also the victims because we work at the city, and we want to do what we can to help all of our fellow neighbors. And so by offering Experian, which is what is done in situations like this, it was a step in the right direction. And again, I would encourage folks, because I was at a community event recently where folks said, you know, what is the city doing? And they had no idea about the Experian. And like, you know, I want to be cognizant as people listen to this, that is out there, and please take advantage of it.
So, right now, can you acknowledge that there are different criminal investigations, 1 and 2, obviously the hack itself, Reseda, is there a separate one into Connor Goodwolf?
I'm honestly not intentionally trying to be cryptic. I will just simply say, this whole thing has been under investigation. We've said that from day one.
Goodwolf told me yesterday that people should consider doing anything from the credit monitoring, signing up for that, to even something as drastic as moving out of the city of Columbus. If their data that is up there from your office's database is sensitive enough.
Yeah.
Is that an overreaction?
Well,
Is that something people should even consider?
I do want to take a step back here and answer this question not as the city attorney, but as a citizen in the United States, in a world where in the same week or within 2 weeks of our own attack, that we had revealed that 3 billion or 2 billion social security numbers were on the internet, that we found out that 40 or 50 other cities have been hacked. You know, you go home and find a piece in the mail from a company that you shop at or your car is leased through, and it's like, sorry, or your phone company, AT&T, for example, sorry that we've been hacked. You know, I think unfortunately in 2024 that we live in this world where all of our data that can be like social security numbers and or bank accounts and or credit cards, whatever that may be, is out there because there are foreign actors in Russia, in China, in Iran, and in North Korea that are seeking to do it. The question is, like, what is our responsibility as citizens to not go fish for that data, to make sure that you don't go out and download it and disseminate it and disclose it to others and share that information with other people so that you're like, hey, look what I found. I found George's social security number. Like, that's a problem. That's a problem. That's why this is not about speech. That's why this is about the act of disclosing this information, the act of disseminating the information. Like, you are, like, I love y'all, you're trusted members of the media, but who else is he showing this to? And who else could be out there that is in, there's Anna's social security number. That's why I would feel uncomfortable seeing this data. Or if I saw a document that said Zach Klein, confidential informant, or Zach Klein, undercover cop, I would not want to view that. That is sensitive information.
Why are you assuming he's showing it to bad people?
Why are we assuming that he's not? We have no idea who this individual is. We have no idea what his motives are. All we know is what he has told you and said publicly is that I am downloading this information and I am disseminating it to you, to the members of the media, and we don't know who else he could be. And that is a threat to public safety. And I want victims in my cases, and witnesses in my cases, and cops in my cases, and undercover cops, especially in my cases, to know that I'm gonna stand up for them every step of the way to stop the dissemination of that information. They have the right to have their city attorney, to demand their city attorney do this for them. And I'm not gonna let up on that.
Is it right that you're
Okay,
assuming?
hold on one second.
Is it right that you're assuming, because who else could be doing this?
I'm not assuming. I'm simply saying that we don't know. And the simple matter is, while you are members of the media, he is showing it to you. So the information is out there. Anna?
So we're not able to.
I'll come
turn
back around.
back
Bill, I'll
time,
come to you.
But
Yeah.
Connor was the first person to raise the red flag to all of us, letting us know how much of an extent could go back, would you guys have been more open about what's going on with the investigation?
You know, like that, again, hypothetical question. We're operating in good faith. We're operating in good faith. We're trying to download the same information that sometimes takes days or weeks to download. It takes a level of sophistication to go on this dark web. I don't know how many accounts you have, Anna, for the Onion server. I don't know how to do that. It takes a level of sophistication. The whole notion that everyone can sit back and listen to this news broadcast and then start Googling, you know, how do I get to the dark web and find the Reseda information is kind of a misnomer. It's kind of a red herring because of the complexity it takes to seek the stolen data, the type of complexity it takes to download this data, which is why this is about action, not speech.
I'm sure the investigators have it though.
But look, this is part of an ongoing criminal investigation. Like the whole notion is we're trying to get this information to figure out exactly what has been compromised as a city. And it's just not easily downloaded like you're downloading a song from Spotify.
Are you at all concerned that if you're successful, at least a side effect of what you're attempting to do will be that the public will stop learning about the severity of what happened because the city hasn't told them about these things? It's come from a private citizen.
Again, the private citizen can still speak. This is simply about the downloading and dissemination.
I mean, if he's not able to download, what's he gonna speak about?
There are still, I'm not gonna get, he's already, if my understanding, he's already threatened litigation against the city or about this, so I'm not gonna get into what potentially could be done there. But that is a First Amendment question, and this is not about a First Amendment exercise. This is about physically disseminating and disclosing information. It's not just the download itself, it's the disseminating and disclosure information.
I guess I'm just asking, are you prepared to acknowledge that at least a side effect of what you're attempting to do is that the public's not gonna know what happened?
Well, I think if the side effect is preventing someone from downloading and disclosing the names of undercover cops and victims and suspects, then I'm prepared for that side effect because I want to protect victims and cops and witnesses.
Any idea when the judge will make his decision?
Right.
And what happens in the meantime? Is he allowed to go on web and still talk to people? Is it frozen until the decision is made?
Well, again, we're not talking about speech. You use the word
Right,
talk.
right.
This is about the dissemination and disclosure of confidential information. It's not about speech. It's not about criticism. And again, I'm not going to go to the limits of First Amendment, but this is not about suppressing his First Amendment rights. This is about an action that he has taken and that he has shown to you about city stolen data of investigatory criminal nature.
Would he be able to?
I'm only going to take a couple more questions.
Would he be able to still download and look at this data and tell us what's there, not show it to us, tell us what's on there under this GRO?
Again, we're not trying to get into the speech aspect of it. We're more getting into the showing and disclosure of the information.
The bottom line is the information is out there, so what else are you doing to protect people now that they know?
Again, we're offering Experian. We've talked to Choices. We've talked to Legal Aid. My office is prepared to help anyone out there that feels, not even subject, they feel that they need to re-up a civil protection order. If they need help, my office stands ready. And I have talked to Chief Bryant, which is why she signed the affidavit. We care about our cops, which is why she joined in supporting this. This is a priority to protect our police officers, to protect victims, and to protect those suspects, making sure that those investigations are done thoroughly and fairly, and to protect witnesses. This is my last question, Bill.
To file this motion as an ex parte motion and not notify him that you filed it? And why not bring him in and let him tell the judge his side?
Because the further disclosure of confidential investigatory information is a threat to public safety. And we wanted to do this the moment it escalated, the moment it became involving victims and witnesses of crimes, potential suspects, police officers, undercover police officers of that. It was that escalation that led us to do the ex parte
Is it
TRO.
common to file a restraining order and not notify the party who the restraining order is against?
If you follow our nuisance abatement law, we do that. No, we do that. I mean, we do that. I'll just leave it at that. We do that. Thank you.
The victims and witnesses and officers were in that August 13th database as well.
Okay, again, this came to light based on some of the reporting that you're done, hence the escalation. But again, that question to me, Isabel, it undercuts why this is somehow a whistleblower, because we could have done it when he first raised his hand. We didn't. And now that it's escalated into undercover cops, suspects, witnesses, like I wanted to make sure we protect public safety. That is my charge to the community. It is my duty, and I will not give up on that. Thank you.